Welcome to Anime Archaeologist. Today, I'll be reviewing episode 7 of Shikimori-san because this anime is severely underrated. So, what did happen in here? Basically, the school's doing their cultural festival, and we see the origin of Yu and Michon's relationship. Episode-wise, this is quite a comfy episode. As to why, I'll explain it here. Warning! Here be spoilers! Our episode begins with the class preparing for the cultural festival, and Yui, and two of their classmates are sewing the costumes. Meanwhile, Michon is on the decor team. Shiny tomboy Jeff is shiny! Yu misses being with Michon and the feeling is mutual. We see Yu leave for school and when he had arrived, he had received a paper heart with number 44 on it. This will be important later. We see Yu's class go as an animal cafe. I say, Kyo and Shu have very fitting costumes. Yu is dressed as a lion and Michon is dressed as a rabbit. Those two need to get a room already. As Yu, Michon and their friends work, Yu slips on a piece of paper and Michon saves him. People be impressed indeed. After this, we see Yu and Michon go home. They talk about what had happened earlier and how Yu got a shift at the library for the next day. He feels guilty about this, but Michon reassures him. The next day is at the library with Kamiya, the girl from episode 2. We see a flashback of Yu meeting Kamiya for the first time and have a feeling that we'll be seeing more flashbacks. They talk about the stuff for the school festival and how famous she is. Here we see a flashback of Yu meeting Kamiya for the first time again, but with more detail this time around. Kamiya is quite competent at things. Yu mentions that Kamiya is nice and she's stunned by it. Back to the present, Yu says that Kamiya can leave the work to him and he's shiny. We also have a shiny BF now? Damn! Kamiya notices that Yu is different because he has a girlfriend. She then asks him when he had first met Michon. Am I getting some foreshadowing in here? Meanwhile, Michon, Kyo, and Yui are looking at a board with numbers and names in it. We see Yu having number 44 and Michon has number 78. Kyo tells Michon to get going already while Yui explains what does the numbers mean. Essentially, it's a game organized by the student council where if a couple matches numbers, then that couple would be permanent. Are they trying to follow Shinzo Abe's ideas here? Yui breaks the fourth wall here and tells us what it entails. If only the Loud House episode Brawl in the Family had let Lincoln do this, then it wouldn't have been a very infamous episode, now would it? Yui says that there's numbers with names outside of the classrooms, that the students should find someone whose number matches theirs, and finally take a picture with their match. Yui, why do you have someone who is a guy version of yourself? She then says that Michon is probably unhappy over the fact that someone else has number 44. Michon says that she wants to exchange her number with the one who has number 44. Meanwhile, Yu says about the time when he and Michon started dating. At last year's school festival, Yu and Michon had matching numbers. Michon stutters when Yu asks her to walk around with him. These two are redder than turning red. They then get their picture taken at the couple number game and Michon finally asks him to do it. Sadly, he had lost his number and Michon asks him to look for his number. Unfortunately, they had not found it and one of the student council people says that they both need to have that number in order to take the picture. Yu asks again and we see a scene where Yu looks out the window at the fireworks festival. I'll be going back to this later as well. Moved by Yu, the student council president helps him and tells him to never tell other people about it. After this, Yu and Michon had their picture taken and we see a confession scene. No words, just Sakuga. Back to the present, Kamiya reacts weirdly over it. As Michon, Kyo, and Yui are looking, we see that it's Kamiya who has number 44 and so the episode ends on a cliffhanger. This episode follows chapters 38, 39, 40 and 41 of the manga. You mentioning that nothing feels worse than being unable to do anything is quite relatable because not doing what should be done causes regret. We've all had this sort of moment at least once in our lives, if not more, so seizing the moment is a typically good idea. This episode is a lot better than Notoge no Yome's take on a school festival. What do I mean by this? In Notoge no Yome, Ako's character development from episodes 7 and 8 had suddenly gone away during that show's school festival for some reason. Instead of her realizing that there's a difference between the real world and the online game world as we've seen in episodes 7 and 8, she reverts to calling Hideki as his in-game name from the show's IRL setting during episode 12. Gag or not, it's wasted character development. With Shikimori-san, used character development from the previous episode carries over to this one as well. He went to becoming a Chad in the previous episode and he's also a Chad in this one. I recommend this episode as a substitute to all those woke YouTube influencers who rain hate against straight people. Next week, I'll be reviewing episode 8.